Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, President Barroso, Danny, for attending here. Hope you enjoy yourselves at this important occasion. This is your third CEO conference focusing today on the business of Europe. And Europe has much business to attend to. All of our predecessors, whether in politics, business, or simply citizens, have played their role in the development of the modern-day European Union. It can be very easy to forget the scale of their achievements. 27 separate member states working together, a dynamic workplace of over 500 million people, and European business using the single market as a springboard for global success. That's quite a legacy. And now it falls to all of us to ensure that the grand exercise in European cooperation and economic development continues to prosper so that we can pass the baton on to the next generation. The experience of the past few years has shown that this is a constant challenge requiring enduring vigilance and attention. Now, today we are 1/3 of the way through Ireland's presidency of the Union. We are confident that we will deliver on the presidency that we promised, one that is focused on stability, on growth, and on jobs. I believe the experience of this country and lessons that have been learned are relevant to the wider European experience. Both have faced profound, and some might even say, existential crisis. It was perhaps inevitable that the focus of efforts at European level have been directed at crisis management to the detriment of planning for the longer-term economic well-being of Europe. At times, the collective response of Europe to the financial crisis has been frustratingly slow. The scale of the crisis unparalleled in modern times, and yet following new forward-looking positions adopted at the European Council, we are finally seeing the emergence of solutions and with them increasing stability. And from stability, we need to quickly refocus our efforts back to jobs and growth. Those of you here this morning from Ireland will have heard me say many times that my ambition for this country is to become the best small country in the world for business by 2016. I believe that's an ambition that we will achieve. The scale of reform and action across government to improve our competitiveness is unyielding until we reach our goals. So it's important to understand that becoming the best location for business and enterprise is not just an end in itself. It's not for business' sake that we do it, but it's for the people. It's for them. In this, the European Year of the Citizen. And only a successful and a thriving enterprise environment can provide the type of opportunities that our people demand. The jobs from a growing economy can support their dreams, fuel their ambitions, and provide for their families. Ireland, as you well know, like many other countries in Europe, has experienced an unemployment shock in the past few years, from which we have yet to recover. We cannot allow economic recovery to be a jobless recovery. And similarly, European recovery has to address the huge unemployment problems experienced across the Union. Our citizens rightfully expect us to show leadership, to get the economy moving again, to help business to grow, and to get people back to work. And we now have to show leadership to transform the way we do business, to build a sustainable future both for business and for citizens. In the European Union, evolution and change is constant as we strive to do things better, to encourage innovation, new cooperation. It's been a hallmark of this country's membership of the European Union for the last 4 decades. European business has continued to excel in their sectors and maintained a reputation for excellence that has been earned through those years of hard work. This transformation was made possible by a continuous thread of informed leadership across the decades, and Ireland has played its part in that. For example, in 1975, our presidency oversaw the creation of the European Regional Development Fund. Our presidency in 1979 was on foot of the first direct elections to the European Parliament and oversaw the establishment of the European monetary system. During our presidency in 1984, the EU signed the Trade and Economic Cooperation Agreement with China and facilitated the accession of Spain and Portugal, with the President of the Commission here today. In the aftermath of the collapse of the Iron Curtain, Ireland's presidency in 1990 agreed the common approach to German reunification and to community relations with Central and Eastern European countries. In 1996, our presidency delivered the basis for the Amsterdam Treaty, which focused on the rights of EU citizens and established mechanisms to further boost the role of the European Parliament in the EU decision-making process. And most recently, during the 2004 Irish presidency, the Day of Welcomes, held in Dublin, in the Phoenix Park, heralded the single biggest expansion of the European Union in its history. These have been remarkable achievements overseen by various Irish presidencies. Now today, we are at another critical staging post in this journey, with a shared goal of rebuilding our economy and confidence so that we can provide a better future for our people in Europe and for business in Europe. We've depended on committed leadership over its history, and this year Ireland, as presidency, will lead a programme for the Union which targets meaningful decisions to deliver upon those principles of economic stability, of jobs and of growth. Decisive action across the European Union, at government and at business level, is absolutely necessary to reverse the drastic economic and social impacts of the current crisis. For governments, this means fixing the weaknesses in the monetary and the fiscal framework of the European Union and barriers to competitiveness in the various member states. So for you and your teams, this means being ready and being willing to adapt to the emerging and the improving business environment, working with governments as we seek to improve national competitiveness, improving levels of innovation and productivity, and keeping ahead of the competition by improving the goods and the services that we offer. This is a business model based on excellence, a European model, an Irish model, and has proven itself to be both successful and robust. Now, responding effectively to the financial, banking and Eurozone crises remains a central concern for the European Union, but can only be part of our efforts to get the European economy back on track. Here in Ireland, we are rebuilding the economy by transitioning it from a failed model based on property speculation, on banking and debt, to a sustainable economy based on enterprise, innovation and exports. We must enhance Europe's competitive advantage and regional competitiveness to now promote economic growth and trade and investment, ultimately creating jobs throughout the Union. So stability, jobs and growth are unashamedly the central themes of the Irish presidency, and I believe they're shared by governments and citizens alike across the Union. Indispensable to this is the achieving a budget for the Union that supports the jobs and the growth and the investment agenda. We are putting in place a budget of almost €1 trillion, which can be used to boost growth across the EU and to enhance the quality of life of our citizens. We're working now with the European Parliament not just to reach agreement on the overall budget for the European Union, but also on the programmes that put this funding into action to make sure that it makes a difference. The Horizon 2020 programme will ensure that the European Union makes a smart investment in innovation, making sure that this investment translates into new jobs. We will progress the programme for competitiveness and small and medium enterprises so that we can strengthen the competitiveness and the sustainability of EU small businesses and encourage a much stronger entrepreneurial culture, which is so important for the creation of economic expansion and jobs. I know that the Minister for Jobs and Enterprise and Innovation, Minister Bruton, will hold an informal meeting of the EU Competitiveness Council here in Dublin in May, and in line with the overall theme of the Irish presidency, the focus of this particular informal council meeting will be small and medium enterprises as a driver of European growth. These important discussions will centre on access to finance for small and medium enterprises, promoting entrepreneurship in Europe, in particular regional entrepreneurship, and assisting small and medium enterprises to, as they say, go global. So in selecting our presidency priorities, we asked a very simple question. Will this action make a difference that matters for business and for our citizens? The treaty establishing the Unified Patent Court, which was signed last week in Brussels, is an example of the practical benefits that the Union can bring. And finally, businesses will have a one-stop shop where they can register and protect their businesses across the entire European Union. So we will continue to press forward to secure agreement on a range of other measures that can make and that can bring real benefits. The European Commission estimates that the digital economy is growing at 7 times the rate of the rest of the economy, but that its potential is currently held back by a patchy pan-European policy framework. With most net job creation generated by fast-growing young firms, this is a key growth demand that demands our attention. We're working to create a genuine digital single market by building confidence in cross-border transactions and services, such as reform of data protection and providing a pan-European framework for e-signatures. And as we continue to improve our competitiveness, our capacity to compete on the global stage becomes even stronger. As much as 90% of future global growth is set to be generated outside Europe, outside the borders of the European Union. It is estimated that there is potential for up to 2% growth of GDP across the European Union if free trade agreements can be concluded with Europe's strategic partners, including the US, Canada, Japan, and China. The EU has an ambitious bilateral trade agenda, and Ireland, as presidency, has lost no opportunity to profile its benefits or to facilitate progress. I was particularly happy to hear President Obama in his State of the Union address recognize the potential of the EU-US trade sector. I will meet with the President when I have the opportunity to travel to Washington next month, and this will be an issue that we will discuss. Also guarantee that we will work with our partners to ensure that the mandate for those negotiations can be completed before the end of the Irish presidency. A transatlantic trade and investment partnership would create new opportunities for investment, for exports, and for jobs. Within the unemployment challenge lies the particular crisis and scourge of youth unemployment. More simply has to be done at national level across Europe to reduce the level of youth unemployment. And this actually means redoubling efforts to promote young people's first work experience and their participation in the labour market. The goal has to be that within a few months of young people leaving school, that they get a good quality offer of work, continued education, an apprenticeship or a traineeship. And therefore, as part of the discussions that took place at the recent European Council meetings, it was agreed that €6 billion would be directed to addressing the problem of youth unemployment in various countries. A meeting which Minister Burton is today chairing in Brussels with the Social Affairs Ministers will discuss, and I hope agree, on an ambitious Council recommendation for a youth guarantee. This aims to ensure that within 4 months of leaving school or losing a job, all young people up to the age of 25 would receive a quality offer of employment, continued education, apprenticeship or traineeship. Here in Ireland, this has been a tough few years for everybody, but it's been especially challenging for our country. I'm glad to say that significant progress has been made in dealing with many of the legacy problems that were left by previous administrations. Over the past 2 years, we have worked very hard to bring a new level of stability to our economy and politics, which is now allowing us to focus on the main challenges of getting our country back to work. I'm pleased to report to you, as the President of the Commission, that we've made significant progress in tackling one of the other major challenges which we face and which has had a dramatic impact on our country, which is our debt level. Ireland has successfully completed the process whereby we are replacing short-term emergency central bank lending secured against promissory notes with longer-term, more affordable financing. This was a major step on the road to our economic recovery, as we have reduced the burden on Irish taxpayers and injected further stability and confidence into the economy. The reaction, I have to say, from our business community has been very encouraging, as indeed has the reaction internationally been very strong. But clearly, there is a great deal of work that remains. We're implementing a very challenging budgetary adjustment of about 20% of GDP over the period from 2008 to 2015, with most of this already achieved. And we remain firmly committed and on course to bring our deficit level to below 3% by 2015. We see this as a fundamental prerequisite for jobs and investment. And while it's very challenging, it is achievable. This week saw the conclusion of pay talks with public service unions on the task of finding an additional €1 billion of savings from the pay and pension bills of public servants. The Pay and Pensions Bill, as you know, accounts for 35% of total public spending. So in the context of an additional €3 billion in spending cuts required by 2015, the contribution from payroll is absolutely fair. Implementing these savings by agreement with public service staff would be another big step on the road to economic recovery and would send out a signal to the world that the Irish people are determined to fix our economic problems and restore our country to prosperity and full employment. But we also need the continued assistance and cooperation of our European partners to implement the decisions of the European Council to break the vicious circle between banks and sovereigns. And we need to see continued leadership and determination to see that these decisions are implemented and that they will play a big part in restoring confidence in Europe's banking sector. So we will work to achieve a real banking union, including early adoption of the single supervisory mechanism and real and concrete progress on the other elements of banking union. And fixing that banking sector is only one part of the plan to make Ireland the best small country in which to do business. We're also busy implementing a huge program of reform and change across the public service to free up and to support enterprise and allow it to reach its full potential. This is mainly achieved through our multi-annual action plan for jobs process, in which we identify many individual steps that need to be taken to rebuild our economy and our competitiveness. So just like a business implementation plan, each specific action has been individually assigned responsibility and tracked timelines, and is being monitored not only by the Department of Jobs and Enterprise, but from my own department of the Taoiseach also. That first plan, which was published by government 1 year ago this month, provided a comprehensive framework of actions right across the public sector to support economic growth and job creation. We've started to see some positive improvements in the unemployment situation in Ireland. Not what we would like, because it's much too high, but the indications are heading in the right direction. We've seen a turnaround in private sector employment, moving from a net loss of 250,000 jobs, 250,000 jobs, in 3 years leading up to this government's election into office 2 years ago. We've now recorded a net increase of over 12,000 jobs in the past 15 months. The Jobs Activation Strategy, Pathways to Work, continues to prepare job seekers for their return to work, and our National Internship Scheme, JobBridge, as you're well aware, continues to be very successful in delivering people back into full employment. These competitive changes have seen our economy return to growth for the past 2 years, and further growth is forecast for this year. Costs are back to 2003 levels, and our exports are breaking new records. Last year, Indigenous Irish exporting companies recorded their highest net jobs gain since 2006. We have continued our return to the bond markets, which began successfully last year, and we continue to perform very strongly in attracting foreign direct investment to our shores. I might say that foreign direct investment, when they engage now with the Irish government, they know that they get clarity, decisiveness, and a horizon against which they can plan. Our commitment to maintain our transparent and competitive corporate tax rate remains a central part of our competitiveness offering. Our corporate tax rate, as you know, is based around what we refer to as the 3 Rs: rate, regime, and reputation. Our rate is clear. Ireland has a low rate applied to a broad base. Our clear commitment to the 12.5% rate provides certainty, which is essential for business and supports planning and investment decisions into the long term. Our regime is ranked first for ease of paying business taxes, and also involves a small number of highly targeted incentives, such as the R&D tax credit, that encourage innovation and job creation. Finally, our reputation speaks for itself. We have a very positive international reputation based on transparency and cooperation, and it's confirmed by our extensive tax treaty network with other countries throughout the world. So as you continue with your conference today, I'm confident that the most troubled economic period of the recent decade is behind us. For Ireland, for this country, our phased return to the bond markets, which began last year, continues, and the international markets have responded positively to the promissory notes outcome with the European Central Bank. This nation is determined to exit the EU IMF programme before this year is out. I have no doubt that that will be possible with continued support from our European partners. For Europe, the focus of this government will be to continue to work very hard to deliver solid achievements that will aid European recovery and job creation. Some of these aims, for instance, are securing agreement on the multi-annual financial framework with the European Parliament, which is partly the reason that President Barroso is here today, pushing for agreement on banking union proposals to ensure that the commitment entered into last June and will be delivered, attending to the important work needed on CAP and CFP reform, Horizon 2020 and structural funds, ensuring that the European Union is equipped to support and to stimulate growth in the digital economy, removing obstacles to a true and genuine single market across the European Union, and placing a special focus on the EU and US trade relationship. I've always believed in my many years in politics that essentially politics are always about people. This European Union of 500 million people works best when we work together with a common objective. We as Europeans have consistently overcome the worst kinds of adversity, and we've worked hard together to build what we have today. And with renewed confidence and belief in ourselves, I've absolutely no doubt that we will collectively overcome the current economic challenges that lie before us. That European business will remain the global standard for excellence. That European politics will remain an inspiration for international cooperation. And that Europe itself will remain a peaceful and a prosperous land. That will be a legacy worthy to leave to our following generations. The decisions that we make in the next period ahead will decide the kind of world we will leave to the next generation. And when you think about it, every century a new technology, be it steam power or electricity or atomic energy or microprocessors, has swept away the old world with the vision of a new one. We have that vision now. As Michael Coram pointed out, today we enter the era of big data. The world in front of us is changing at bewildering speed. It's our responsibility to make decisions that will allow European citizens, Irish among them, to play their part in the development of that brave new world. Thank you very much indeed.